Support for our podcast comes from Symphony 3, which has announced exciting news. It's launched its innovative Smart Glue platform on the AWS marketplace. That makes the secure and affordable integration solution accessible to government agencies worldwide. The platform includes over 50 pre-built connectors specifically designed for public sector systems, government APIs, enterprise solutions and AWS services to transform citizen experiences by breaking down data silos. Smart Glue delivers operational excellence for local governments through cost reduction, process optimization, improved decision-making and scalable architecture, all while maintaining comprehensive security and compliance standards required by public sector organisations. Get in touch to see how Symphony 3's expanded team and solutions can support your goals. Head to symphony3.com to find out more. Coming up, a councillor's workplace restrictions strengthened after an investigation. Northern Melbourne councils unite to demand transport improvements. A push to return the Lord's Prayer to a rural council's meetings. Horsham condemns a spate of offensive racially motivated material. Albury's mayor meets with the New South Wales Premier about hospital services. An urgent call for respect for staff at a large Queensland council. And badly behaved Tasmanian councillors facing dismissal under new laws unveiled this week. All of that and more just ahead on Australia's #1 local government podcast. It's the Local Government News Roundup. I'm Chris Eddy. Also today, Greater Geelong CEO Ali Wastie on how the city is moving on from grand final disappointment with a major new cultural event. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, with the Victorian Councillor Census now in the email inboxes of every Victorian councillor. And support comes from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Thanks for joining me for episode 501 of the Local Government News Roundup. It's Wednesday, the 8th of October, and a special thank you to all those who've reached out after our 500th episode with some very nice words of support and encouragement. Greatly appreciated. Heading today's Victorian Roundup, a Greater Geelong City councillor has had workplace restrictions strengthened following an independent investigation into his behaviour towards council staff. The Geelong Advertiser reported that former Deputy Mayor Anthony Aitken has been subjected to enhanced workplace controls after multiple allegations of inappropriate behaviour were substantiated. The council's CEO Ali Wastie informed the city's leadership team about the action in an email seen by the Advertiser, describing interactions between Councillor Aitken and staff as concerning. The authenticity of that email has been confirmed independently by the Roundup. Under the new measures, Councillor Aitken is prohibited from directly contacting council staff. All communication must now go through the executive or councillor support team, with text messages to senior executives permitted only in urgent cases. Previous sanctions requiring all meetings involving the councillor to be filmed and attended by senior executives have been extended until at least September next year. Councillor Aitken has suggested he's being targeted for his approach as an independent thinker. He was previously sanctioned in September last year after approximately 30 staff reportedly lodged complaints about his behaviour. 7 northern Melbourne councils have launched a united front in what they're calling the Connect Melbourne's North campaign, demanding urgent improvements to the region's struggling transport infrastructure. The alliance, comprising Darebin, Hume, Banyule, Mitchell, Nillumbik, Whittlesea and Marybeck councils, is asking residents to share their personal transport horror stories, from no-show buses to gridlocked commutes, through a dedicated website which is now online at connectmelbournesnorth.com. Marybeck Mayor Helen Davidson, who chairs the Northern Councils Alliance, says while the region is growing faster than almost anywhere in Australia, the transport network is stuck in reverse. Here's a sample of Darebin Mayor Christina Lyris's message to her community.
Poor public transport options force more cars onto already congested roads, making daily travel longer and more stressful. This is important for Darebin and for municipalities throughout Melbourne's north.
The campaign is pushing for connected bus networks, rail extensions, safer cycling paths and improved east-west connections across one of Melbourne's fastest developing areas. A petition calling for the reinstatement of the Lord's Prayer at Bass Coast Shire Council meetings has gathered nearly 200 signatures and will be tabled at this week's council meeting. The Lord's Prayer was removed from council proceedings in 2014, a decision some residents claim reflected anti-Christian sentiment, according to the South Gippsland Sentinel-Times. Local resident Karen Thorpe, who supports the petition, argues the prayer offers themes of forgiveness and guidance that benefit everyone, regardless of faith. Neighbouring South Gippsland Shire updated its council meeting prayer in 2023 to a more inclusive version that acknowledges diverse backgrounds and beliefs. The petition will be presented at the Bass Coast Shire Council meeting later today. In Horsham, the council has responded to racially motivated stickers targeting the Barangi-Gadjin Land Council. It's removed the offensive materials and condemned the acts as unacceptable attacks on a respectable organisation representing First Nations peoples. The council is calling on community members to help by speaking up against racism, reporting racist vandalism and supporting First Nations communities to ensure Horsham remains a place of respect and inclusion. Corangamite Shire Council is backing community concerns about a proposed Mumblin wind farm, questioning both the planning process and the project's impact on agricultural land. The council is concerned that the state government's approach excludes local governments from renewable energy project decisions, and Mayor Kate Macon said agriculture will always be the top priority. She said that while the council acknowledges the importance of transitioning to renewable energy, the economic foundation of the region is at risk from inappropriately sited renewable energy infrastructure. Murrindindi Shire residents may soon see progress on the long-awaited breakaway bridge replacement 3 years after it was destroyed in catastrophic floods, cutting off direct access between Acheron and Alexandra. Murrindindi Shire Council has called for tenders offering 2 design options but requires additional financial support. The council's received $5.2 million from Emergency Recovery Victoria, but warns this falls short of delivering a resilient crossing that can withstand the area's frequent disasters. Mayor Damien Gallagher says the issue goes beyond simply replacing infrastructure and that it's about building to today's standards, as any community has the right to expect, he said. The council is advocating to state and federal governments to cover the funding gap and has scheduled a community meeting for mid-November once tender evaluations are complete. A petition is circulating in Wangaratta protesting a new app-based paid parking system. A local businessman has told the Border Mail he expects to have 1,000 signatories by the end of the month, calling on Wangaratta Rural City Council to change the system to free timed parking. He says people are really mad about the changes, but Acting Mayor Harvey Menton has defended the Easy Park system and said the number of complaints via social media were about 2 per week. Also from the Border Mail, Albury City Mayor Kevin Mack has met with New South Wales Premier Chris Minns about calls for a new hospital for the border region, but he's pessimistic it will lead to any real outcome. However, he does believe the Premier has a better understanding of the issues as a result of the meeting. Premier Minns confirmed that he continues to support a brownfield development on the current hospital site rather than a new hospital on a new site, which is the preferred option for a broad coalition of councils and health providers in the region. More Victorian Council briefs. Mitchell Shire Council is offering residents subsidies of up to 50% on compost bins and worm farms from participating retailers throughout October and November, aiming to reduce landfill waste while promoting sustainable waste management practices at home. Swan Hill Rural City Council is offering a 50% discount on all new pet registrations until the end of December to encourage pet owners to register their animals so they can be reunited if they wander off. And Frankston City Council has launched 2 new initiatives aimed at reducing financial barriers and promoting community connection. An active participation subsidy program is providing 85% coverage of membership fees for eligible residents to join local clubs and groups, while a ratepayer rewards program offers benefits like venue vouchers and free trees to encourage community engagement. Both programs will run until June next year or until funding is exhausted. It's the Local Government News Roundup for Wednesday the 8th of October as we move on to New South Wales, and peak body LG New South Wales has acknowledged IPART's announcement of council rate pegs for next year as broadly sensible. The rate pegs range from 2.5% to 4.2% before population factors, reflecting lower inflation while still addressing council cost pressures. The group's president, Phyllis Miller, welcomed continued adjustment factors for emergency services levy and population growth, but criticised the inclusion of a dams safety levy adjustment that transfers New South Wales government costs onto local communities. She also said an included factor for election costs should mean councils are better able to fund the rapidly escalating costs of elections. The Daily Telegraph has reported on calls for greater financial transparency at Parramatta Council, with independent councillor Kelly Darley pushing for monthly financial reporting instead of the current quarterly system. Councillor Darley said that waiting up to 4 months to understand the financial position of what she calls a $500 million organisation is simply too late for councillors to implement corrective measures if needed. The councillor, who recently won a significant New South Wales Supreme Court case against the council, is also seeking detailed information about legal expenses over the past 3 years, including which law firms have been engaged and how much they've been paid. The council is currently under acting leadership, with George Bonassif serving as acting chief executive, while incumbent Gail Connolly is reportedly on sick leave during exit negotiations. Lachlan Shire Council has appointed Ian Greenham as its new General Manager. Mr Greenham brings more than 20 years of leadership experience across both the public and private sectors and will take over following the resignation of Greg Torrey. He previously served 8 years as Director of Technical Services at Orange City Council. He takes up the role on the 1st of December under a 5-year performance-based contract. Georges River Council has issued 7 penalty notices to local building sites after a compliance blitz in recent weeks. The St George and Sutherland Shire leader reported the council's compliance team inspected 70 development sites, issuing $31,500 in fines for erosion and sediment control issues. 56 sites were found to be compliant in the Get the Site Right blitz, which Mayor Elise Borg said was encouraging. Central Coast Council has unveiled an ambitious master plan to transform the region's airport into a hub for aviation training and emergency services. The Sydney Morning Herald reported the plan comes as Australia faces a critical shortage of pilots, with the Oceania region needing approximately 10,000 new pilots over the next 2 decades. The 160-hectare Warnervale site is expected to see annual flight movements nearly double to 55,000 by 2042, potentially creating 200 jobs and injecting $10 million in wages into the local economy. 16 new high-definition CCTV cameras are being installed throughout the town of Glen Innes in a long-fought-for boost to community safety measures. The expanded surveillance network follows persistent advocacy from Councillor Andrew Parsons, who's been pushing for increased CCTV coverage for over a decade. And it comes in response to a petition signed by nearly 200 business owners concerned about crime in the CBD. The Northern Daily Leader reported that Councillor Parsons is now advocating for the next phase of the project, having footage live-streamed directly to the Glen Innes police station to assist officers with real-time monitoring. Meanwhile, the council is developing a psychosocial framework aimed at minimising bullying, harassment and misinformation, particularly on social media, following a recent incident where a councillor appeared to verbally abuse a colleague in a viral video. The framework is designed to support the mental health and safety of elected representatives who face increasing hostility and abuse in their roles. The council sent it to the Local Government Minister with hopes that it will be adopted statewide. More New South Wales Council news in brief. Willoughby City Council has held a sport and recreation forum, gathering input from over 50 local sporting organisations to address facility shortages and inform a future sports needs strategy. Key priorities include addressing the lack of training spaces, insufficient court facilities and limited wet weather options. Byron Shire has approved new pool pass pricing that will make swimming more affordable for single-parent families. The Northern Rivers Times reported the change addresses long-standing pricing inequities, where single-parent households previously paid more than traditional two-parent families for the same service. And the Federation Youth Council has held a Wear It Blue for Mental Health event in Corowa, distributing over 200 small gifts and providing resources on local mental health services to raise awareness and reduce stigma. Community leaders praised the event for demonstrating how simple conversations and gestures can make a critical difference in addressing mental health challenges. On to Queensland, and Sunshine Coast Council has issued an urgent plea for respect towards its staff as incidents of aggressive behaviour continue to rise at an alarming rate. According to Council CEO John Baker, reported incidents of threatening behaviour have nearly matched 2024's entire yearly total in just the first 8 months of this year, with verbal abuse and physical assault seeing a particularly concerning spike. Mr Baker said the people who serve our community deserve to be able to do their jobs without fear or harm. The troubling trend has forced the council to implement extraordinary safety measures, including security guards at certain locations, body-worn cameras and specialised de-escalation training for frontline workers. Toowoomba Mayor Jeff McDonald and Lockyer Valley Mayor Tanya Milligan have formally requested the Queensland Government to conduct a detailed study into a staged approach for extending passenger rail services to their regions. The mayors are advocating for an initial extension from Helidon to Whithcott as part of a longer-term vision to connect Toowoomba City with Brisbane by rail. Mayor McDonald emphasised the importance of the extension, particularly with Brisbane set to host the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Both mayors have already raised the proposal with the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games Organising Committee during a visit to Toowoomba. The future of Malanda's historic Patrick English Pavilion is under a cloud, according to the Cairns Post, after Local Government Minister Anne Lay rejected calls for an investigation into the Tablelands Regional Council's handling of the facility. More than 850 petitioners have asked the minister to investigate allegations of misconduct, claiming the council failed to maintain the 1940s structure, leading to its permanent closure before last year's Malanda show. Minister Lay says she has no power to intervene, advising that such matters fall under the jurisdiction of the Office of the Independent Assessor and the Crime and Corruption Commission. Council CEO Nicola Stepanov has strongly denied any misconduct, noting the CCC has already reviewed the matter and taken no further action. The distinctive curved pavilion is slated for demolition following an engineering report deeming it unsafe. The council is currently seeking a contractor to carry out the work. Still ahead on the Roundup Extra with Ali Wastie, the CEO of Greater Geelong City Council. Also some global stories, but now let's go to Tasmania, where local councillors could soon face dismissal from their elected positions if found guilty of serious misconduct under draft amendments to the Local Government Act released by the state government this week. ABC News reported the proposed changes would give TasCat broad powers to penalise councillors, including fines of up to $10,000, dismissal from office and bans from standing for election for up to 7 years. Local Government Minister Kerry Vincent says the amendments address a gap in the current system where there hasn't been a proper way to deal with councillor misconduct. The minister noted that the public are not accepting this bad behaviour anymore. The move comes after several high-profile cases of councillor misconduct in the state, including that of former Waratah Wynyard councillor Darren Fairbrother, who was convicted of indecent exposure but refused to resign until his term ended. Public consultation on the draft amendments remains open until November 17. Launceston City Council is moving to capitalise on an expected tourism boom, unveiling plans for a new motorhome rest facility in the city, according to the Examiner. The proposed Kanamaluka RV Rest will feature 11 powered bays for motorhomes and caravans at the Northern Inveresk car park, complete with toilet amenities and waste disposal facilities. The $750,000 project aims to capture some of the additional self-driving tourists expected when the new Spirit of Tasmania vessels enter service. The council has applied for state government funding to cover half the cost through the Spirit Preparedness Fund. In South Australia, the city of Charles Sturt has warned its residents of possible delays to bin collections in the coming weeks. The issue is caused by ongoing staff shortages at contractor Cleanaway. Port Lincoln Council's team, the Port Lincoln Tuna Tossers, has won first place at the LG Professionals SA Rural Management Challenge. The team demonstrated exceptional problem-solving and teamwork skills in the competition, designed to replicate real-world local government scenarios. The District Council of Robe took second place, while Port Augusta City Council was third. In WA, the cities of Fremantle and Vincent have been named as finalists for the 2025 WA Seniors Awards, which recognise outstanding contributions to supporting older Western Australians. Inside Local Government reported that the award ceremony will take place during WA Seniors Week from November 9 to 16. Artists in Fremantle are set to benefit from a new initiative launched by the City of Fremantle. The Creative Cohort program aims to connect and strengthen the local creative community through practical support and networking opportunities. Pete Stone, the Director of Creative Arts and Community, said the free program was developed in response to community feedback. And the Shire of Carnarvon has allocated $15.5 million in regional precincts and partnerships program funding to several key projects, including $3.7 million for the tramway bridge reinstatement and $8 million for the pier development, which will deliver 56 new dwellings and waterfront amenities. The remaining $7.55 million will fund 5 community-led projects aimed at improving livability, with all initiatives expected to be completed by 2027. Now on the Roundup, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association with support from Symphony 3. Some global Roundup stories. In the UK, The Guardian is reporting this week that Reform UK councillors in Kent are likely to raise council tax by the maximum permitted 5%, despite the party's earlier promises of drastic cost-cutting measures. Diane Morton, Reform's Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, admitted that services are already down to the bare bones while facing increasing demand. It comes as a significant setback to Reform's plans to implement an Elon Musk-inspired Department of Government Efficiency unit in Kent, which was intended to examine council spending and reduce costs. Other Reform-led councils in West Northamptonshire, Durham and Staffordshire have all indicated potential tax increases also, facing what independent experts call the same brutal arithmetic as councils run by other parties. And at Leicestershire County Council, Reform UK leader Dan Harrison has announced plans for a deep dive efficiency review to reduce its £1.3 billion in annual costs. BBC News reported the council is bringing in specialists from international firms starting in November. To the US, a period of political turmoil in the Oregon city of Tigard has intensified as city manager Brent Stockwell was placed on administrative leave this week, just 4 months after taking the position. Oregon Public Broadcasting reported that development only 3 weeks after the resignation of the city's mayor following workplace conduct allegations. The decision to place Mr. Stockwell on leave was made during a closed executive session. City officials have declined to comment on the reasons, citing personnel confidentiality. The city has experienced significant leadership instability, with at least 7 management-level employees departing in the past 2 years amid reports of a toxic workplace environment. Traffic cameras might soon be making a comeback on the streets of Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland.com reported that City Council members are in early discussions about reversing a 2014 voter ban on traffic enforcement cameras, citing concerns over reckless driving and pedestrian safety. Council member Kevin Griffin says residents have approached him about the possibility, particularly as the city implements other traffic calming measures like speed tables. In Canada, the city of Richmond in British Columbia is reported by Global News to have filed a lawsuit over a controversial gift card program where hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars were spent with an alleged lack of oversight and accounting. Earlier this year, the city revealed that $290,000 in gift card purchases for their employee recognition program remained unreconciled over a 3-year period, leading to a forensic audit and police involvement and the termination of one employee's employment. With municipal elections looming in Alberta, CBC has reported on innovative approaches to counting complex ballots being adopted after the banning of electronic voting tabulators across the province. In Medicine Hat, where 39 candidates are running for council seats, officials have imported an innovative solution from England called the Kangaroo Board. The counting board features transparent pouches to hold batches of ballots and allow teams to efficiently tally multiple votes per ballot. The method was previously unknown in North America and was discovered by electoral officers via a UK news video. The Alberta government banned electronic counters in the last year, citing a need for increased confidence in elections. That's despite municipalities reporting very few problems with the machines that had been widely used since the 1980s. And the Mayor of Ottawa, Mark Sutcliffe, has shared the sad news of the death of his Chief of Staff this week. Robin Guest passed away from a rare and aggressive form of cancer after a 20-year career at City Hall. That's the news for this edition of the Local Government News Roundup, but don't go anywhere. It's time for this week's Roundup Extra. Ali Wastie is the CEO of Greater Geelong City Council. Always great to have you on the podcast. Ali, how are you doing?
Always great to be here, Chris.
We wanted to chat with you about this amazing event. It looks sensational. It's called Roam Geelong. It's coming up this weekend, but it's not just a plug for an event, because when I read more into this is really starting to highlight what's been happening, perhaps a bit quietly in Geelong, the growth of the centre as a cultural hub. This is something that's been happening by design.
By design, indeed. So it is Roam is Victoria's newest major cultural event, and it really does highlight the significance as a destination event for the region. And it positions Greater Geelong as a thriving creative economic hub backed by data, which is showing sustained growth in creative employment and also visitation to the region.
Yeah, that data that's just started to permeate through shows that the creative employment share in Greater Geelong is growing whilst the overall share for Victoria is slightly declining. So it sounds like Geelong's sort of punching above its weight there. Have there been some particular strategies that have been used to achieve that growth?
Yes, so we have been going, I suppose, against the trend. So we've got, and we track all of that. So it's really important that we have this data to back up what we're saying. So we know that there are more creative workers coming into the city and also to live within the city of Greater Geelong. And we can also see that their income is growing with that as well. So they're able to sustain themselves in their practice. And this data helps, I suppose, the city identify where our strengths are, how we can track progress and make evidence-based investment decisions, such as Roam, and where we need to focus our resources. We also certainly leverage our assets in a strategic manner. So our growth has come from adaptive reuse of industrial sites, a strong university presence, creating talent pipelines. Very fortunate here to have Deakin University, and building on manufacturing heritage to develop underutilised spaces and strengths that are already in existence within our communities. Of course, it goes without saying that we have UNESCO City of Design status, and with that we have a framework, and that gives us, I suppose, the guiding principles that integrate creative thinking into economic development, urban planning and business support. And when creativity becomes part of our remit, which it is, it becomes not just one team or one department's remit. It's actually the whole of the cities. And I mean the city of Greater Geelong as the council, but also our key partners and community really owning that and celebrating that.
So a few factors sort of coming into play there. Let's just touch on the UNESCO City of Design status one for a moment. How big a deal is that? What does that actually mean for Geelong?
Look, I think it is a very big deal. So to have that status is something, you just don't say, oh, we want to have that status and you get it. There's a whole process with that. And it's a real opportunity to showcase what we've got here, not only from an architectural perspective from the buildings, but also the mindset that we have with design and the history of Geelong. So coming from a heavy industrial base and now really leaning into advanced manufacturing, and that's where our jobs and employment is really having that design focus and mindset that has captured the attention of the world. So we are on the world stage because we do have that status.
And that's obviously a factor too in creative workers deciding to come to Geelong. And I notice, one of the attractors is they can earn a metropolitan level strategy but enjoy a regional city lifestyle. Geelong still classified as regional, even though it's growing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I think, it really, this status does continue to shape our cultural narrative, and it cuts across all sectors. And then when you're cutting across all sectors, you're cutting across everybody who lives within the broader municipality. And it does also support a year-round calendar of design-focused events from across our community, including the recent Sustainable Fibre Symposium. The upcoming Australian Institute of Architects Victorian Regional Symposium is also there, and the Geelong Heritage Awards. So it is very deliberate and intentional to support these events and opportunities throughout the year. So people who have come to Geelong because, yes, they enjoy that regional lifestyle, there's less congestion, etc. I would say housing affordability, it's a very difficult word to use right now, but I suppose it is slightly more affordable than other parts of Melbourne. It's all relative. But we have to keep making sure that we don't, I suppose, have gaps in the calendar, that we don't rest on our laurels and we don't take for granted that we have this designation as a UNESCO City of Design, and that anyone coming into the city, coming to visit, or yes, indeed coming to live, gets it and understands that's why they've got that, and that's warranted. And we're committed to having that for a very long time.
Before we talk just a little about Rome Geelong, which is coming up on the weekend, I saw the strategic planning that's gone into all of this creative work, this growth, described as a replicable approach for regional development. What makes you believe that that could be successfully adopted by other regional centres? And are other centres looking at what you're doing here in Geelong?
I think so. And I think the word is replicable approach, depending on the city size, and you can certainly scale it up or scale it down. So, from where I came from in Bass Coast, that was a wonderful creative community as well. And they're doing some amazing, projects with community and have had some significant events and investments. So you don't have to be a big city to be able to, I suppose, put yourself out there as a creative hub or a cultural, wanting to attract these kind of events and people and communities. Yes, we support that through our Geelong major events. So the Geelong economy received a $1.5 million boost last year, thanks to 12 major events that the city, yes, invest heavily in. And that's through our Geelong Major Events Committee. And we partner, obviously, with the Victorian government to put those things on. And they include things like the Archibald Prize. So we've got that here in Geelong at the moment. So if you haven't seen it, please get along to the Geelong Gallery and see, that's Australia's premier portrait prize. But that also tours around different councils as well. I know, it's been to Yarra Ranges Council. It's been to many other councils. We've also got the Grand Fondo. So that's where all cyclists from all over the world, they'll descend on Geelong's iconic waterfront. And there'll be lots of things around that. So that will be a really great, not only world-class event for athletes, but really picking up families and communities who want to get involved in that event. And then we've got other things like the Geelong Revival Motoring Festival, and we even host a Big Bash. So that's at the gym. That's obviously not council per se, but we sponsor that through Geelong Major Events. So that event wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the council's investment in it. And we'll see Melbourne Renegades and Brisbane Heat come down here at GMHBA on the 15th of December. So if you like cricket and like some atmosphere, get along to that match.
I live in Greater Geelong and I didn't know about half of those things. And I must admit, Ali, I hadn't heard much about Rome Geelong. Let's talk about that before we wrap up. Coming up on Saturday, it's been described as a multi-sensory journey with lots of artists involved. How do you describe this event? What can people expect?
I think you've pretty much nailed it there, Chris. So there's a lot of free events. All of our institutions are open. So we've got obviously our wonderful library, we've got the back-to-back theatre, we've got the Geelong Gallery, and of course, we've got all of these We're using Little Mallet Street as well, so you'll be able to see lots of performers, but there's also a lot of paid ticketed events. So I don't encourage anyone to jump on the Rome website. Just Google Rome and it will come up. And there is something there for everyone, and it is this Saturday from 4 to 10 p.m. I am volunteering. I don't know what the team have got me doing yet, but I'm really looking forward to it and being amongst it.
You're very brave.
Yes.
You don't know what your job's going to be.
No.
And Rome, by the way, is ROAM, not ROME.
Yes.
So make sure you go to the right place. ROAM, Rome Geelong. Does Geelong need this, Ali, after having lost the grand final? Sorry, I had to mention it.
I know, that was tragic, wasn't it? So,
Well, it depends.
Quite.
It depends on who you support.
Well, I think for the city, look, we'll bounce back, and the Cats have been been up there in terms of whether they're not playing in a grand final, they're not far off it. So I think it won't be too long again before we have that opportunity. But then again, that was another example how the city really supported that event. So we put on a live site and we had thousands of people come down to the waterfront. They were so well behaved, and we were in it till about half time, and then it just actually came in. The clouds came in, and then it all went to custard, and it got a bit sad. And we didn't know whether the streets would be closed or not. So if Geelong had won, the police actually call it at 3/4 time whether they're going to close down the city, because apparently it just goes off, which was what I was really looking forward to. And I was sitting next to some police, and I could see they were debating at half time whether they were going to need to call it early or not. And then at 3/4 time, they were saying, no need to call this. So everyone just went home, and it was a very quiet night.
Well, I am sorry you didn't get to see that. I have seen that, and yes, it does go off. And if you're not a Geelong supporter, it can get a little bit hard to take, I've got to tell you.
Well, no, we're going to be back there next year. And I have to say, Chris, look, I'm going to own it. They're my second team. But, I'm not a threat. I'm a North Melbourne supporter.
Same here. That'd be my second team too, but it's a very distant second behind Hawthorn. All right, but we're not going to talk about that either. All right, Ali, Rome Geelong, ROAM, this coming Saturday between, I think it's 4 and 10. Get down and check that out. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time, as you always are. And
always a pleasure, Chris.
Hope to see you soon.
See ya.
That's the roundup for Wednesday, the 8th of October. Now, coming on our next edition, we'll find out more about the current situation in Walgettshire, a crime wave there garnering national media attention this week. I'll speak to the council's Director of Community and Planning, Anthony Doyle, about what's actually happening. In the meantime, find out more about the stories in today's episode by heading to lgnewsroundup.com for a transcript and story links. Thanks to the Victorian Local Governance Association and Symphony 3 for their ongoing support for the Local Government News Roundup, which is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We come your way every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. I'll be back on Friday with more. Until then, thanks for listening, and bye for now. The VLGA's Victorian Councillor Census is back again in 2025. All councillors in Victoria will be emailed the census on the 6th of October and will have until the end of the month to complete. In its second year, the annual census captures and tracks councillor demographics, attitudes and the key challenges to local governance over time. You don't need to be a VLGA member to participate, and at no stage will the VLGA have access to an individual's responses. The findings of the census will inform, influence and lead conversations across local government and with other tiers of government, and all responses will be fully confidential. This is your chance to have your voice heard as a councillor. The Councillor Census is part of the VLGA's commitment to support councillors on their journey to be successful community representatives.